me to reference more manga in terms of especially action and stuff like that. And so I was like, all right, I started looking at some manga, and that was the panel. I was like, all right, I found a great soul leveling panel.
Yes, I
It was
think
like
that's
the perfect
great.
reference.
We are Odd School Studios. The thoughts, the process, the work. This is our inner world.
Do it.
Well, there's the shop closest to us does not do it. So I stopped buying coffee from them, bags, and then I go to this other place that you do buy and you get the free cup. And
Yeah.
it's the best.
Yeah, I wonder if Velo does it. Velo might do it, but yeah, I need to check that
All
out.
those bags are like 24, like $30 now.
Goodman's are about 24.
Dang.
Local places, I feel like that's why I usually just buy, I honestly just usually buy cheap.
Trader Joe's, baby.
No, I go even cheaper. I go Aldi.
All these coffees actually really good.
It's not that bad. Yeah, the like
Origin?
whole bean Peruvian is what I go with. Yeah, it's pretty
I do
good.
that a lot too.
Yeah, not bad.
All right, let's talk about Hayfa. Let's talk about this guy.
All right, do you have the page pulled up or do I need to pull it up?
Dude, you're
I'm gonna pull it up. Okay.
Page ready.
I'm sorry, I didn't realize you were hitting record.
Or just, setting it.
Yeah. We were talking about coffee. My second favorite subject to talk about.
I stopped also going to the other shop because Maeve loves the kid espressos, and one of them, and she likes cinnamon on top of it, as any kid would. And this one shop refuses to put cinnamon on top of it, so I no longer go to them. Cause
Oh, wait, really? They refuse?
it was like this weird thing, and then like another one of the employees like went up to me, and she's like, "I'm so sorry, sir. Like I don't know why they want to do cinnamon."
That's so weird.
It's like, great question. I don't know why either. But
Yeah, I'm like, that makes no sense.
Maeve was stoked on it still, but I was more peeved. It's a good
Yeah.
shop. But then again, you buy a bag, you don't get any cup. That should be common.
Yeah. Sorry, hang on. I got the page pulled up. Let me get my screen shared here. Screen.
And then also too, it's like, if you do the math, it's like a $6 specialty drink,
Yeah.
$4 bag. It makes sense.
Oh yeah, for sure. All right.
Oh,
hang on.
baby.
I need to go back to the beginning of this. All right, I'm gonna hit play.
You know,
All right.
You know when we were talking about violence? Well, here's some more violence.
Here's some more violence.
I don't know. Is it okay for kids? We think so, but who knows?
You know, I think if you start looking at media and start thinking about things like K-pop Demon Hunters and we've talked about Lord of the Rings before. I know it's not necessarily like for kids per se, but I mean there's plenty of media that I would say is arguably more excessively violent and without purpose. And I think that is one of the biggest things about when you show violence is it needs to have a purpose, and it needs to not just be violence for the sake of having violence.
Yes.
Because I think that's when it starts to get into just like an excessive kind of territory, I guess. I don't know. I know my oldest brother hates Attack on Titan. I know that's like a lot of people's favorite show, but I mean, I think that's one of people's favorite anime. But I think that's one of his biggest things about it is it just feels like violence for violence's sake. It just feels excessive.
I disagree.
No, I know a lot of people would disagree, but I think it makes me very aware of.
I also think Attack on Titans is a different genre. But
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
why is this is missing an arm? Let's talk about Hayfa a little bit.
Yeah,
Why is he
let's
missing
talk
an
about
arm? Why is he missing an eye? Who is this guy?
Oh man, I feel like you should intro him because
I mean, out of all the characters I think we've developed so far, he's definitely in the top 5. He's what you like, and if you looked at an ant colony, he would be one of the guards of the ant colony, but in our world, the guards are like super high trained knights. Basically, if you're like thinking like the Knights of the Round Table or the High Guard of Game of Thrones, they're just like the most trained, most deadly warriors. Hayfa is one of the best, if not like arguably best top 3 ever ants to walk through the Mar when it comes to a warrior. But a couple years ago, or maybe like 10 years ago exactly, there was this another raid, and Hayfa and his partner were kind of like the last ants standing, and his partner was probably a little bit like more skilled. He was a little older, so like Hayfa kind of looked up to him, but his partner lost his life, and Hayfa kind of like felt like he let down from that fight, and now he kind of like bears the scars of that letdown, and he's kind of this character throughout like majority, like his major push and major thing is like he just wants to bring glory back and bring honor back, and that's kind of like what motivates him. And then like obviously from that encounter like 10 years ago, he like is now missing an arm, half his eyes missing out. He's kind of a warrior that's like had a long path, and like if anything, it's like where kind of like meeting him like further along in his journey. It's kind of like where you pick up with Dalinar. If you ever read Way of Kings, he's kind of like where Hayfa would be to start that book. He's like established as a warrior.
Yeah,
he has a past, and he's kind of like marked by that past.
Yeah, that's a really good comparison. Talking about Dalinar, remember, I feel like the rough outline you gave me for Hayfa was essentially just that. Is, warrior. You gave me the backstory of him having this other sort of warrior ant that he looked up to, and this warrior ant sacrificed his life. So Hayfa really owed that ant, or felt like he owed a loyalty to sort of pay that forward with being this protector. And I think doing the 3 arms was a little bit of a happy accident, but it was a little bit sort of me channeling my inner child and just thinking about like these characters I used to draw when I was a kid, and like, I used to draw these kind of like anthropomorphic like rhino warriors and stuff like that, and they would always be like scarred up, or like they'd be missing a limb that was replaced by like an axe, and so in a lot of ways it felt like I was sort of channeling that child who made up these characters, and I was like, I want to make this awesome warrior and he should be missing an arm, sort of like those characters I used to draw, because I also think like characters that have maybe imperfections can help really elevate and add to the story of their design, because I think any good character design also has a storytelling element, because I think if it's just character design for the sake of making a cool character, you're not tapping into its full potential.
Yes.
But I think if you really lean into, okay, what is the history of this character and how can I tell that just by looking at them, ours or imperfections or whatever you want to call them are such a cool way of doing that, especially with a warrior character. And so it's like one of those things where it's like you might look at a scar, or you might look at a missing arm and say, oh, like maybe this isn't the best warrior. Maybe maybe he's not as good as some of the others because he has these injuries. But I think it's sort of, you can kind of flip that on its head and be like, well, he is the best now because he learned from the mistakes that led him to those kinds of, I guess, like scars and the missing limb and the missing mandible as well, which I thought was just a really cool touch to really lean into that history of who this character was.
Yeah, and it's always fun too, like when you have a warrior who is so skilled and now he has like kind of these things that happen to him where he has to like relearn how to fight in some ways, or like learn how to fight efficiently. And that's like one of the reasons why we decided to dagger on him, because he has to like rethink about even the weapons he uses and adapt. But I feel like when you have such a cool warrior like this, and you have to like, they have to learn how to like become better through their like defaults a little bit, it like only makes them like all the cooler and more interesting as a whole.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it makes it even more impressive at this point in the story moving forward that he is one limb down from the rest of the ants and other bugs he's gonna be fighting, and yet he still holds his ground like handily.
Yeah. I think one thing I had to ask you about this page, because when I was writing this, in this moment, I kind of always expected all the characters to be like really intense with emotions and have a whole bunch of emotions on their face. And then even like Hayfa in some way, like when he's like yelling, like he's in this warrior, like he's like driven by like the pursuit of battle. But yeah, like you like did the first initial sketch and I saw it for the first time, I'm like, like, I don't know if I really necessarily love it, because he is just like so stoic.
Yeah.
Chaos is happening all around. Bugs are getting eaten alive. There's like thousands of these Ahid running. Like Hayfa like seems so cold and like so like not bothered. And I feel like that was just like such a smart, different way to draw a character in this moment, because it's like you expect him to kind of be like at least a little bit of adrenaline, but you can just tell like this man's been through war before and he's not phased, and he's like, he has a mission and he's gonna carry it out.
For sure. Yeah, I think that, well, one of the things I think a lot about that my wife talks about a lot, who works in the OBGYN field, and she talks a lot about sort of being in high intensity situations, and to be a good leader in a high intensity situation, you have to be the calmest one in the room. If there's a high intensity situation, even if you're making the right calls, if you're making them with too much energy or with too much intensity, you make the situation worse. You make it so that people actually don't listen to you and don't trust you as much. But if you know what you're doing and you can show that you have control and that you understand how to handle the situation by staying calm, you can lead a situation much better. And so I think in this moment especially, he has seen, like, this is one of those moments where you can tell like he has seen combat. This is not his first time around. and showing that he's able to stay so calm and saying, stay close and coming up. And it's like, that's that like calm presence that you want to go with.
Yeah. Even when it comes to chopping another bug in half, he still looks
Yeah.
like it's unbothered. There's
Yeah.
no emotion there.
Yeah.
But I
and
think it is like it's such a smart choice and like how to depict him in war because like that is like kind
Right.
of or like he's lived through this before.
Right. And I think I also was thinking a bit about, other characters like Aragorn, and even Geralt of Rivia from The Witcher, who are both such like stoic warriors in a lot of ways, where it's like, even if they're in the thick of battle, they stay so calm and they say, they give commands, or they give, they talk to the people they're trying to help with such authority but calmness that you
Yeah.
can't help but trust them.
Yeah, totally. But then it always makes you wonder like what is the thing that makes them break a little bit, breaks their shell a little bit.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah, and I think especially, I remember I texted you probably right after I finished drawing that first panel, because I was really struggling with how to do the sort of the angle of like, was I going to show him completely in that first panel, or was I just going to, like, initially I think I had my in my roughs I had just the sword kind of swiping through, and you didn't see his face until that second panel. Yeah, I think I texted you, and that was like the first time I was like, I'm blanking on the manga I was referencing, but I was like, you've been
I
really
remember.
pushing.
Solo leveling.
Yeah, solo leveling. That's right.
Yeah.
You've been pushing me to reference more manga in terms of especially action and stuff like that. And so I was like, all right, I started looking at some manga, and that was the panel. I was like, all right, I found a great solo leveling panel.
Yes, I
It was
think
like the
this
perfect
page,
reference.
This page and the next couple 4 pages, I feel like if you want to see more of that manga start to come into our book, I would definitely
Yeah.
subscribe and follow along for more.
For sure. Yeah.
All right, see ya.
Thanks for watching.